Om Shanti. Are you all happy? How to increase the soul power? When the soul is filled with power, one feels blissed and peaceful all the time. He'll be able to differentiate between right and wrong. And the opposite is when the soul power decreases. So the soul is filled with its power when the soul is fed with the truth, and the soul is depleted of its power when it is fed with the false. So there are only two things in the entire world that we can call the truth. Actually, truth also means imperishable. Only two things in the world are imperishable. One, as we all know, is God, and the second being the soul, which is also imperishable. As long as you are conscious of the soul and God, the Supreme Soul, your soul will be filled with power. When you come out of the awareness of soul or the Supreme Soul, automatically your soul will be depleted of its power. Needless to say that we are all depleted of the soul power because we neither know about the soul or the Supreme Soul. Muslims used to say that they don't bow to anything or anybody except the Creator. Here you can call God the Creator, everybody knows it, but we can also call a soul to be the Creator as well, because first of all, soul is shining like a tiny point of light in between the eyebrows, which is why we have the habit of applying tilak or religious symbols in between the eyebrows. And it is the soul that sees through the eyes, that speaks through the mouth, that listens through the ears, that performs all activities with the help of this body. So this body is just an instrument to execute the orders of the soul. And the reason we call soul the Creator is because whatever you are surrounded with, or basically your creation, you got this beautiful body because of the power of the soul to attract the beautiful body. And you have got good relatives, it is because of the power of your soul to attract good relatives. You accumulate wealth, it is also the power of soul that attracts the wealth. So basically, whatever you see are your creations. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, God says, though I create this entire universe, I stay away from it, away from its effects. But we, on the other hand, we eventually become slaves of our own creation. But that was not the case in the beginning, when this world was heaven. That was 5,000 years back, when this world was originally heaven, and we souls were deities filled with divine qualities. And that is the reason the world was heaven, because it is our creation. It is based on the power of the soul that the environment of that soul is determined. In heaven, we were soul conscious, which means we were aware that we are originally the souls that operates this body, and we are different from this body. Since our concentration is basically on ourselves, which means on the soul, we experienced constant blissfulness, because the true nature of the soul itself is blissfulness. So we enjoyed being in a blissful state for the first 2500 years when we were absolutely soul conscious, and we were surrounded by everything that needs to make one happy all the time. We had a very beautiful and healthy body, and we had relatives that are selfless, and also we are surrounded by animals that actually shows love to us um, through its beautiful voices and dances and so on. And also we were blessed with the nature of first quality. In short, there was nothing but happiness in heaven. And the reason for that is we deserve that because of the power of purity. We were so pure that we didn't even know what lust is, what anger is, what greed, attachment, or ego is. As a result, we were only expressing the divine qualities like peacefulness, blissfulness, and purity. Even deadly animals, as we know now, like tiger and lion, they were loving towards us and towards other animals like cows, sheep, because they don't feed on them while they were in heaven. They feed on grass. So in heaven, not only humans but all living organisms live in harmony. But after 2500 years, we slowly forget that we are souls. So we started becoming body conscious, that is, we considered ourselves to be this body, and we can no longer experience blissfulness from within. So we started depending on the external things for happiness through sensual pleasures, and we become addicted to sensual pleasures, and thereby we became slaves of these five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, all because we became slaves of our own creation. So we considered ourselves to be this body, so we became slaves of this body. See, in heaven, we were blessed with beautiful bodies because we were pure. So it is the purity of the soul that creates the beautiful body. And it is because we lose purity in hell that we started getting bodies that has some defects. And also we start losing wealth, and we started surrounding ourselves with selfish relatives and friends. And the animals that were once loving to us became deadly. So all of this happened mainly because we started becoming slaves for our own creation. But in heaven, that was not the case. Since we were soul conscious, we were not falling for the beauty of the body. We considered ourselves to be the soul, and also we considered others to be the souls as well. So we remained blissful all the time, and we remained content all the time. We did not depend on anything external to us to derive happiness. But that was not the case after the completion of first 2500 years, when this world slowly becomes hell. So it is when you become intoxicated with your own creation that your soul started losing its power. But while you were in heaven, you were aware that you are the creator. So your soul did not lose its power as fast as it is happening in hell. Nonetheless, even in heaven, the soul will lose its power, but at a very slow rate. The reason it loses its power even in heaven is because though we had this knowledge that we are souls and we were soul conscious, we did not have any idea about the Supreme Soul, another higher level truth. But in hell, we did not know about God, we did not know about soul either. So as a result, we started losing the soul power at a very fast rate. Thereby, we become slaves to everything we see, everything we listen to. Thereby, we end up losing more and more soul power. When the soul has less power, it cannot differentiate between right and wrong. So it will always end up taking bad decisions, thereby end up committing more and more sins, because of which we'll have to endure more and more punishments in the form of diseases, natural calamities, and conflict between people. So now, towards the end of this world, we are in grave danger because of the amount of sins we have been committing for the past 2500 years. In order to rescue us from this sinful world and also from the effects of the sins that we have committed in the past, God Himself comes from His supreme abode to this world. He enters an old man's body and He names him Brahma, and He starts giving the divine message to the entire world. The knowledge that God speaks is available as Murli, absolutely free of cost, in all Brahma Kumaris Rajog meditation centers. Now God teaches us to increase the power of the soul. How do we do that? So we should stop falling for our own creation. So it is through sensual pleasures that we became slaves of our own creation. So now we need to focus all our attention to those two truths. One, the soul, which is eternal, and the God, who is also eternal. We souls shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows, and God also shines like a tiny star in the golden red colored light world. He is also a soul, which is why He is called the Supreme Soul. The only difference between God and other souls is we souls enter this birth and death cycle that lasts for 5000 years, while the God stays away from entering this birth and death cycle. Nonetheless, He has to come in the end to rescue us from this world of sin. So He takes an old man's body for rent to give these teachings. Any decent man will see a man or woman only above the neck. He will see only the face if he is decent. If he is more decent, his eyes will be fixed only on the eyes of the other person. If he is even more decent, his eyes will be fixed in the area between the eyebrows. So that's how we were in the beginning in heaven. It is when the soul loses its power, our vision gets slightly disturbed, so that our attention goes away from the eyebrows, in between the eyebrows. So we started getting distracted by the eyes, then we started getting distracted by other features of the face. Then after entering heaven, we get more distracted by the parts below the neck of men and women. So once you get addicted to seeing the parts of a man or women that induces you sexually, you no longer care to see the face or eyes or the area between the eyebrows, because you're so addicted to watching the sexually inducing parts of a male or female. You can compare a male or female body to a Hindu temple. So in all Hindu temples, you will see at the top a kumbh or kalash. It actually represents the soul. What you see below the kalash is nothing but the creation of that soul. Yes, we were souls residing in this soul world. So if we are very powerful, then we will be descending to earth while it was heaven. So we'll be blessed with a beautiful body, beautiful family, and beautiful world. It is nothing but our own creation. It is because of our stage of purity that we are blessed to be surrounded by everything that gives happiness to us. So even in temple, especially South Indian temples, what you see below the kalash are the images of deities dressed beautifully. But even as you descend further and further, you will be shocked to see images that are sexually suggestive and violent provoking and not so good images. So that represents our condition after taking birth in hell. So when the soul is absolutely filled with 100% power, that represents the kalash at the top of the temple. So when it descends to this earth in heaven, it is still filled with power, which is why it is enjoying the beautiful body, beautiful world, beautiful relatives. But after taking several rebirths, after losing adequate amount of power, the soul starts taking not so beautiful body, not so healthy body, and almost all its wealth gets deprived, which is represented in the as the sexually suggestive images at the bottom side of the temple. So in our part of the world, they say it is billion times auspicious to have a glimpse of the kalash at the top of the temple. But the actual meaning of it is billion times auspicious if you are capable of seeing only the kalash of the temple and not anything below the kalash. That's impossible, right? Especially at the present time, it is impossible because as soon as you see the temple, your eyes fall straight on the sexually suggestive images that you see at the bottom side of Vimon of the temple. It is very similar to how we get addicted to see the sexually inducing parts of a male or female nowadays. So what they actually mean by saying it is billion times auspicious to have a glimpse of the kalash that lies at the top of the temple is it is billion times auspicious if you are able to see only the kalash, which is the soul of the body and not the body at all. But it is not that easy because we have lost the power, so that you can't concentrate on anything that's fruitful. Our mind is so obsessed with anything that intoxicates us, like lust and drugs and so on. So that is why God asks us, God gives His own introduction, thereby makes us to remember Him who is always filled with power. So, as much as we remember God as a point of light that dwells in the golden red colored light world called Parandam or Parlog or soul world, so the more you remember God as a point of light, the more your soul is going to be filled with the power that is necessary to remain soul conscious, that is necessary to see others as souls. But you need to put a lot of effort now, because we have almost lost all our soul power. So the first step in filling our souls with power is to consider ourselves to be the soul, and then we need to remember God also as a point of light. So it is good if you can do this in the early morning, if you start this practice in the early morning and continue it throughout the day. I know it's difficult, but start gradually. Start with 30 minutes in the beginning, then you slowly increase it to 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour. Obviously you will have many distractions that will make you body conscious again and again. So that's where the knowledge of God called Murli comes to help us. So we need to listen to Murli as early as possible in the morning, and you need to think about the knowledge points throughout the day, so that you keep your mind so busy with the knowledge points of God that you leave absolutely no room for anything wasteful that comes from outside to occupy your mind. Of course, you will be busy doing the daily chores of life, but still you will make sure that your mind is occupied only with the knowledge of God and the remembrance of God. And also, while speaking with others, make effort to focus your eye only in the area between the eyebrows. I know it's difficult in the beginning, but by practice it is possible for you to pay your attention in between the eyebrows. You start with your family members, start with your wife, with your husband, with your parents, with your kids, with your siblings, then with your friends, then with your employees or employer, whatever. You will be able to do it, because it is only when you focus your attention on the soul that you will have no waste thoughts, because it is by looking at the body, especially if you are looking at a beautiful girl, obviously you will have thousands of thoughts regarding the beauty of that girl. But if you are able to focus your attention on the invisible soul in between her eyebrows, you know all souls' true nature was blissfulness and peacefulness. All souls were pure in the beginning while they were in the supreme abode. Also, when they first take place in the earth, even then they'll be filled with power, so that they will exhibit only the divine qualities in the beginning. It is only by taking several rebirths that the soul loses its power and start exhibiting devilish qualities. So no matter how devilish one behaves in front of you, no matter how hurtful their words are, If you are able to focus your attention only on their soul, then to your surprise, you will feel only blissfulness and peacefulness instead of the reaction that is expected out of what they are doing. The reason is pretty simple. When you consider yourselves to be souls, you know your true nature is peacefulness and blissfulness. So you will remain peaceful while observing another soul whose true nature is also peacefulness. So instead of looking at the branches of the tree, which is the actions that they exhibit now, your attention is focused on the seed of the tree, which is the soul. It is because they forget that they are soul, and because they become body conscious, they exhibit such devilish qualities. But you, on the other hand, is fully soul conscious, and you are able to retain your attention in the seed of yours, which is soul, and also you are able to pay attention to the seed of theirs, which is also as soul. Because there is nothing more to think about soul. You know, soul in its pure form is an embodiment of peacefulness and blissfulness. It is because they lose the power of purity that they lose peacefulness and blissfulness, and they do all the things um, that brings them and others discomfort. But we live in the world of body consciousness. So we need to protect ourselves from anything that happens in the world that makes you become body conscious. So you need to keep your mind always busy with the knowledge points of God and remembrance of God, and you should be busy practicing soul consciousness with everybody you encounter. So that is how you will feel your soul getting filled with power and also start experiencing the true nature of soul, which is blissfulness and peacefulness. So it is by becoming aware of these two creators, soul and the Supreme Soul, that you are able to create the best creation around us again, which is going to be heaven. Not only that, even in hell, when you pay close attention only to these two creators, that you are not affected by anything that happens in this world. Of course, this world is filled with sorrow and pain, but you don't live here. The moment you consider yourself to be the soul that is separate from this body, you no longer belong to this world, because this world is for people who are fully body conscious, but you are not. So for you who has taken this knowledge, this world was already destroyed. You are just a soul without your body, waiting for a body in Satyug, which is going to be the body of your deity, where you will be blessed with a beautiful body without any kind of imperfection. So it is those who practice this way that will enter heaven. So there will be absolutely no conflict there. Nobody will be hurting each other. So we are creating heaven by being aware of these two creators throughout our life. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.